Hello. Thank you all for joining us today. Good to see you all here. Thank you for being here. I'm Emma Goldblatt. I'm the program director at Shemayim, and thank you again to everyone who's joining us for this very special program. If you're not familiar, Shemayim Jewish Animal Advocacy is a nonprofit that offers programs, campaigns, and educational opportunities to teach the Jewish community about animal advocacy and veganism. Earlier this year, we launched our most impactful campaign yet, called Jews Against Factory Farming. If you haven't signed on already, please do so on our website at shemayim.us. If you already have signed on, thank you. And you can help us so much by sharing the campaign on social media. We have a media kit on our website that makes sharing really, really easy with ready to post templates and stuff like that. So that is all I have for you now. I will now turn it over to our president and founder, Rabbi Shmuly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma, for being here and for all of your great work that you do at Shemayim. So grateful for you and your leadership. And it's great to be here with all of you. Those of you who are in the Zoom, those of you who are on the live stream, thank you for being here. And let's start by just getting a sense of who's here. If you're willing to type in the chat, your name and what city you're in today. Um, or if you don't want anyone to know what city you're in, then you can say a city you like. Um, and and maybe just one reason you're here. What does this issue mean for you? How do you think about food? How do your ethics and your food consumption intersect? How does your Jewish identity and your food intersect? Whatever you want to put in the chat. Give you a moment to do that before we get started here, just to get a sense of who is here. And if you're in the live stream, we'll take a look over there at that as well. While people are writing, I'll just share. Here we go. The wonderful Dr. Max Clow from Boston, Massachusetts. If you haven't picked up his books, please check out his books. Crucial intersection of psychology and leadership and racial justice and the like. Um, Family's basically vegan, but we rarely talk about it as a family commitment. Oh, interesting. Eager to hear your wisdom. Okay, we got the wonderful Isaac Blumenthal from Philadelphia, almost vegan, largely because we're Shmuly and Amiella. So excited to be here. Thank you, Isaac Blumenthal. It's great to see you all the way from Philly. And we have Vivian from LA, vegan activist. I do outreach to Orthodox Jews every day and want to learn more about the topic. Great, great. Awesome. I'm sure others will come in. We are a pluralistic community, and we mean that in lots of ways. We mean that in terms of whatever we eat here. We mean that in terms of our various political commitments, religious commitments, diversity of human experience and commitments. So we're not here to preach as much as think together a little bit. Okay, Ariana in Western Mass, thank you very much. Over 10 years. Thank you so much. Um, awesome. And I just want to name also that we've entered the 9 days. For those who are a part of the traditional Jewish calendar, we've entered the 9 days, with today being Rosh Chodesh Av. And one thing that the 9 days means for me is a little bit of a meditation on the dark side of human existence, a little bit of a reflection upon our collective shadows, and how we've ended up where we are as human nature, as human societies. And for me, a big part of that is the amount of suffering we allow to happen in the world. And quantitatively and qualitatively, the greatest suffering is happening from non-human animals. And so I very much during these 9 days think about that and how I can be a better compassionate force for nonviolence. So, to start, for those who aren't familiar with it, what is veganism? And what is Jewish veganism? So, if anyone wants to weigh in on that question, what is veganism? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself. I would just say, like, at a minimal level, what veganism means is that we strive through our consumption, through our dollars, and through our power to not consume any products that cause suffering. Now, that's really hard because there's so many levels of suffering environmentally and on work for workers. for human health, for animals, and it is hard to imagine consuming in a way that doesn't cause suffering. But can we get closer, really? We can never hit the ideal, but can we get closer? That's sort of the floor. Going from there, an ethic of nonviolence, of how can that carry over to all of our character, to all that we do, so that we can be more compassionate in all that we do, and consumption of being a big part of that. My wife and I, my wonderful wife Shoshana and I, have been vegan since for our wedding day 15 years ago. I think the only person here on the Zoom who danced at that wedding was Dr. Max Clow, and of course Shoshana. But you're all invited to the 30th anniversary sometime. But we went vegan on our wedding day because it was a family commitment. Because we said, you know what? It's really hard to commit to certain values alone because behavioral change is so hard. So how can you do that as partners, as a community, as a family? How can you have a brit that when you walk into your home or into your community and you kiss a mezuzah, you're saying this home or this shul or this community is a sacred place. And what are the values we're committing to? And although we're here talking about Jewish veganism today, there's so many commitments around lashon hara. How do we not hurt each other with our speech? Right? How do we, take care of each other, show care and compassion in the home, right? And what comes in the door? What comes in the door? What goes in the fridge, and what doesn't? And so, for me, this is very deep. It's very deep to think about family commitments and communal commitments around what we buy and what we bring into the house. So I'm so fortunate to be here with the wonderful Amiella Yanklowitz, who is just a 13-year-old rising star in the world of a Jewish leader and thinker, and who lives her values and continues to inspire us on what it means to try to be better humans. And so each of us thought we would share just the Jewish text that's on our mind, um, just to kind of get things started before we get into some of the other conversation. So I commend her courage and thoughtfulness to join us here in this. So to start, I'll start with actually maybe she'll start. Let's start with text from her. So I'm going to put it on the screen here so you'll be able to see it. Um, can you see that? Okay, great. So I'm going to pass this over to Amiella so she can just share this text that she's been thinking a little bit about with us.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Amiella, and so this text, the idea is anthropocentrism, which is an ethical world opinion that places humans at the center of existence, and the idea that God created everything for humans. So, starting off, this is found Bava Metzia 85a in the Talmud. And a calf was being taken to the slaughter. When it ran away, hid his head under Rabbi Judah the prince's robes. In Hebrew, that's Yehuda Hanasi, and cried. He said, "Go for this, were you created." They said, they being the angels, "Since he has no pity, let us bring suffering upon him." One day, Rabbi's maidservant was sweeping the house, saw some young weasels lying there, and made to sweep them away. He said to her, "Let them be. It is written, and his mercy all and his mercy is over all his works." Psalms 145:9. And that's a line from Oshrei, if you know the prayer. And they said, "Since he is compassionate, let us be compassionate to him." Okay, so I'm going to start off by asking if any of you have any thoughts. And I'm asking, have you ever had a transformative experience that relates to this in any way that like first comes to mind? So yeah, you can talk.
Feel free to unmute yourselves if you want to weigh in on this text. Because we came off the screen quick, I put it in the chat. if you want to weigh in on this text at all, or any transformative experience you had in your own relationship to this. I'll just say one thing to start. I was in Ghana actually with Max here, and I woke up early to jog, and I saw some little boys in the village. They were digging up the hole that was our garbage hole. Um, we would just put our leftover food in this garbage hole, and that was garbage to us. And I saw them in the morning digging up the hole, and because that was gold to them. And it was this wake up call of just like not really thinking about food at all, like just having a lot of privilege, a lot of access to food, and not having made many ethical decisions at all, other than like what's healthy, what tastes good. I was starting to think more about kosher at the time, and but it made me pause and be like, oh my gosh, like every decision I make with food has some other repercussion in the world.
Mhm. I mean, I can share. You guys can hear me? Folks can hear me? Okay. Of, it's fun that you're here with Amiella, Shmuly, because I also had an
I'm
experience
going
with my
upstairs.
daughter. Somebody else needs to go on mute. When she was little, like 5 or 6, we were still eating meat, and she's like, "This is chicken. I don't want to eat a chicken. It was alive." And we were like, "Come on, you got to eat meat, protein." I don't know. I mean, we're now all of us don't eat that, and it feels great. But it was a moment where we're like, why are we saying get rid of your empathy for these living creatures? And it really challenged us to reflect. So,
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
beautiful. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vivian. So nice to be here. Hi, Emma and Rabbi. I used to teach kindergarten when I wasn't vegan, and we spent a lot of time talking about empathy. And when little bugs or little lizards would crawl into the kindergarten room, I'd stop whatever I was doing and we'd take the cup and put it on top of the little animal and slide paper under it. And I'd say, come on, everybody, let's go outside and put it in the yard. And we did, and we'd say, goodbye, have a good life. Then we'd come back in. And I always felt so proud, that I was teaching this. And then I'd go home and, have my chicken leg for dinner. And I never stopped to really think about what I was doing. I think a lot of people just don't, most people don't think about what they're doing. And that I think is our goal, to educate. So you can't make changes unless you're thinking about what you're participating in. And then you weigh the benefits to you and to your heart and soul, and then make your choices. But it is amazing how I felt like such a compassionate person, and I was. I mean, everybody I'm hoping is a compassionate person at heart. Maybe not, but I'm hoping they are. But it was that lack of education, or just I needed that aha moment, and sometimes you're lucky enough someone gives it to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Amiela, do you want to share any last thoughts on that text before we move on from that?
Yeah, sure. So, connecting this to veganism and to Judaism also, it's saying that like Hashem, God, cares about both animals and humans. So he needed to teach the rabbi a lesson. And it's saying that like even one of the best, like even one of the greatest rabbis, um, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he doesn't also understand some things, especially when it comes down to veganism. Like even some of like the best, the greatest, like they don't know everything, and it's important to look at that and see like okay, this is something that he had to learn, so it's something everybody else can learn and something we can reflect and change upon ourselves. And so yeah, so the rabbi learns from the angels and then he corrects his servant. So it's like if once we learn something, we can correct others around us. And I don't know, I was just kind of thinking today, like with my dad, how it's like if God wanted everything to be just about ourselves, like maybe he would have created the humans first and then realized, oh, you guys need animals? Here's some animals. You guys need some more trees? Here's some more trees. But no, God created the sun, the moon, the stars, everything. and the animals and the world, the earth, the sea, and then he created us. And he said, even before that, he said, after he just created the sun and the moon, he said, this is good. This is good. And then he kept saying that after each step of creating the world. He kept saying, this is good. This is good. So it was good before us. Therefore, we're not the center of everything. I mean, like, in theory, yeah, all humans are created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. So, yeah, humans are very important, and we're like the main, I shouldn't say the main, but like we're us. But it's also like we see here that like God Hashem cares about animals a lot also. Like if we're like just like eating them, like just like eating like chicken for dinner, or eating steak or something, it's like that hurts Hashem. Like we're as people, we shouldn't be eating other like living things. So yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I love that, and I love how our tradition doesn't hold up our rabbis and our people in the Tanakh as perfect, but as people who are learning and growing, because we all have our blind spots. And Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi was not a small rabbi; he compiled the Mishnah, and the fact that it shows him on a journey of learning compassion is just remarkable. And so yeah, I love that text. So let me just share briefly one that I'm thinking about, and then we'll jump into the conversation. One is just like how one of our matriarchs, how how crucial this is for her being chosen. It says here in Genesis, it's not showing yet for some reason. There it is. Um, it says here in Genesis, look, I'm standing by the well. When a girl comes out to draw the water, I'll say to her, please give me a little water to drink from your pitcher. If she says to me, you can drink, and I will also draw water for your camels, she is the woman whom God has designated for my master's son. So Rebecca is chosen because of her ability to see invisible people, her ability to see people who are thirsty, ability to see animals that are thirsty. And that ought to be something, an ethic of compassion ought to be central to what it means to be Jewish and to live our mission. The other is that, like, and I know so many of us think about this, like, there's just so many causes, there's so many issues. How do we hold it all? And here's kind of a midrash that embraces some of that diversity. It says the Torah calls Noach a righteous person, a tzaddik, because the term righteous specifically refers to one who provides food for God's creatures. Two individuals are called righteous for having provided other creatures with food, Noach and Yosef. Noah and Joseph. Joseph sustained his family, the people of Egypt. Rav Achva, son of Rav Zera, said the sons of Noach were all righteous because they showed compassion toward both animal and humans. So Noah feeds the animals in the ark, and that's a tzaddik. Yosef fed people, and that's a tzaddik. And so we see here there's a model for human rights, there's a model for animal rights, there's a model of what it means ultimately, and then to be the to live by the Noahide laws. The sons of Noach were all righteous because they showed compassion towards humans and animals. And I really don't think we have to choose. Coming back to families, there's a sense, I think, of which if we build a family around a set commitment around compassion, it should flow in lots of directions. And I think, one of my colleagues, Valerie, showed me a study recently about how violence towards animals in early stages is very predictive of people ultimately, showing violence towards humans as well. And we know as well in factory farming that the violence that is shown toward animals is also shown towards workers. So these connected, the social justice issues are very connected ultimately around that, and it's true for a family as well in terms of how we build our family commitments. So Amiella, I just have a few questions for you, and then we'll open up for others as well around, you know, lots of adults think about this stuff, but it's great for us to think, to learn from young adults, from teenagers as well. And so first, I would just want to ask you, like, what would you say, having been born vegan, been vegan your whole life, what's been hard for you, and maybe your siblings as well? What's kind of been challenging about this commitment?
Okay, well, I'm not going to go ahead right now and tell you that being vegan is the easiest thing in the world. A lot of you who are vegan know this. And it's like, yeah, so I'm like just a kid, a young adult. So it's like when I'm hanging out with friends and they're eating food and like they're making it look all good, then like that's hard. I'm like sitting with like my soy food and they're eating like a big hamburger or something. And then, yeah, so at times food looks good. And like sometimes it's like awkward if I'm like at a friend's house and like they don't have anything. So I'm just like sitting there watching them eat or something. And then like sometimes I feel excluded. It's like if kids are handing out like candy or like a snack or something, then it's just like so it's mostly like revolves around like my friends and stuff. My
Okay,
friends.
awesome. That makes a ton of sense. And so on the flip side, like you're allowed to push back. You've never pushed back and be like, "Hey, I don't want to be vegan. This is too hard." Like, what makes it meaningful for you? Like, why do you want to? I mean, since you were a baby, since you were a little kid, through all your years, you've kind of leaned in with love to this. Like, why is this meaningful for you?
Well, a lot of it's like motivation. Like if I'm hearing people eating gross things, then I'm like, wow, I can't do that. And it like as like it I'm really lucky because my entire family is all vegan. So it really like connects us all together. It's not like we're trying to worry about like one of us eating something that the others can. It's just like we go out to a restaurant and we're all eating the same genre, like the same type of food. And I feel good about it, both health wise and knowing that how many animals I'm saving just by eating a vegan meal. And um, I feel like more spiritually connected to the animals, knowing that like I can look at a dog and I can look at a cat and I can look at a chicken and a cow or a pig or anything really. I can go to like the zoo or a farm or whatever it is and look at them and be like, you're like my equal. Like I'm not trying to like eat you. I'm not trying to like do anything. It's like I
Mm.
know, like I feel comfortable with it. Like I know some people who they're like, "Oh yeah, I love animals." And then they go have like a big juicy steak or they go have like eggs or something or like dairy, whatever it is. But like it feels like I can connect to animals like better and deeper because like I know that like I'm not doing anything wrong to them. Like I'm doing as much as I can. And yeah.
I love that last point. It's not one I would have thought of. And there was a thinker named Martin Buber who I used to think a lot about. And Martin Buber thought about the ethics of dialogue, of how we encounter people. And he said we should view people as an I thou rather than an I it. An I it is where you just use people for your own gains. And I thou is where you see someone else as an ends in themselves. And I reached out to the greatest living Buber scholar at the time, who passed away since, Paul Mendes Floor. And I said, was Buber at all thinking about animals? He said, absolutely, this emerged from animals. The dialogical encounters with horses and with cats, he was looking in their eyes and trying to encounter. And so what you're saying is very deep, that there's almost a um, suffering that comes from living estranged from our values, living estranged from an I thou relationship to others. And because our food sources are so far from us now, we sometimes don't see it. But going back to the text you shared, Amiella, one of the things it said there was, since there was no pity on this rabbi for not caring about the animal, let suffering come upon him. Now you can read that as, oh, God inflicts some suffering upon him. But another way to read it is that we naturally suffer when we are a part of, when we are complicit in, oppressive systems. We suffer psychologically, spiritually, when we are, not aligned with our values. And I think that's part of like the American suffering right now is America has this whole kind of um, shadow side that we need to look at and understand. And a lot of people don't want to look at that. And looking at that just causes more pain and more suffering. So, anyways, so let me ask you, like, let's say there's a family that really wants to get there. Like, how do you think because I know a lot of people who are like, yeah, I get it. I think it's right, but like, I just really like eating this, or this is really hard, or one of my family members is just not on board. Like, and of course, we're going to hear from everyone in a little bit. But for you, Amiela, like, how do you think a family might try to get there?
Well, one thing I'd say is I've seen people who are like, "Oh, you're vegan? That's so cool. Let me just be vegan right now." I think that's going to be like 10 million times harder than if you just go step by step. I think if you like first give up something that's pretty easy to give up and like totally eliminate it and just go step by step eliminating things. So it's not just like all of a sudden you're stuck and you don't know what to eat, like you're just sitting with like a salad or like blueberries or
Mm.
something.
And
I'd
what would you say
say
to a family where there's like a mixed commitments where, one person's vegan in the family and one person's really not? And like how do you kind of hold the respect and in the home for the different approaches and but also really hold your moral commitment dearly.
okay, so yeah, I think one thing is like if you're vegan, you shouldn't give in. You shouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'll just eat this real quick, because then it'll just keep adding on. I'd say if somebody else is not vegan in that family, I'd say make sure you have separate like areas for food. Because if there's in the fridge and you just open it and everything is kind of mixed up and you're vegan and you're just looking at it and you're like, ooh, there's some milk, let me just have it real quick. Or like, oh, there's some leftover hot dog or something. Let me just like I'll just have a couple bites or something. I think it's gonna be so much harder watching all that food, and it's gonna be a lot harder for you to pick the non-vegan choice and the vegan choice instead. So I'd say like if there are snacks or something, maybe have like a snack area. For like it doesn't have to be like on like separate sides of the house. I'd just say like maybe have like a bin for the vegan food and then a bin for the non-vegan food. Or like in
Mm,
the fridge, maybe you'll have like a special side of the fridge or drawer or layer or whatever it is where it's just vegan food, where you only like you find yourself only looking at that and it's not just all mixed up and then you're like, I'll just grab that real quick or something. Like
nice.
yeah.
Amiella, a question came in from Max. He wrote, "Do you ever have peers pressure you to eat something non-vegan? And what do you say to peers who don't get it?"
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. Well, it's really hard because sometimes kids like make fun of my vegan food or something, or like again, they try to like pressure me into eating it, or like, oh yeah, it's so good or something. Like sometimes I have them like try my vegan food and they find out that it's actually like really good and they'd prefer that. Or it's they don't think it's good at all and they just like want to like stick with their non-vegan food. So anytime somebody like tries to pressure me into it, I say like no, this is my choice. Like you make your choice, I'll make mine. I think you're making the wrong choice, but whatever. Um and it's like I don't know, I find myself like thinking when they do it, it's like sometimes I'm like kind of tempted like oh that does kind of look good. And then I just think of like the whole process and stuff and like some kids like my dad was saying earlier, um, it's like it's such like sometimes it can be a long process, and you're just like, grocery store, meat, fine, whatever. Let me just grab it, make it for dinner or something. But like if you actually think about it, like that used to be walking around, and it's like I just have to like remind myself, and I have to remind them, and sometimes they don't really want to listen. Sometimes they actually like really respect it, and they just like some kids just don't really care. But yeah, so like if kids are trying to pressure me, I remind them and then I remind myself and I just kind of like go through that process again and just make them wish they had my vegan food, you know?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I know one of the things that we believe in Shemayim, and I know Amiella does as well, is that we're not a part of the movement that seeks to yell at people or shame people, that can be counterproductive, but really try to bring people closer and bring people closer to conversation, gentle conversation. Oh, and curiosity, a little curiosity. What do you eat and why do you eat it and where do you know it's from, as opposed to preaching. So before we open it up to everyone else, Emma, do you want to share a few questions you might have?
Yeah, I guess talking more about talking to your friends or just other students at your school, what do you tell them when they ask, "Oh, like why are you vegan?"
Well, thank you, Emma. I just start off by saying like I've been vegan my entire life. I know what I'm doing. And it's like I just think again like about like the whole like process about like what's happening and stuff. And um mm, I don't know, I just like like kind of like remind them like what's happening. Sometimes they don't want to hear it or like, no, it's fine, whatever, I don't really care anyways. Or it's just like kids my age, like they're not gonna be like very thoughtful about it, like some adults or something. But it's like some kids seem generally interested. Some kids are already vegetarian or pescatarian or I don't know, sometimes they're just like lactose intolerant or something.
Yeah.
But like every like layer is important and like yeah. Like when I just talk to
One of the things I have to get better about is I often um am so worried about offending someone that I almost downplay it. Oh, it's my own crazy thing. It's my
Mhm.
own you know, and I oftentimes don't talk as openly about my belief around it because I'm worried I'm going to offend someone or put someone or have someone feel bad. And I have to get better not to preach it, but to be very transparent about what I do and why I do it, um, and not worry as much about the judgment, from someone else.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Um, well, I was wondering if there, can you think of like a moment where you felt especially proud that you were vegan?
Um, I find like some moments that like make me feel really proud is like that one moment when like somebody tries my vegan food or like they come over to my house for dinner or something and they just realize like wow, this food is actually like really good, or if like they try like my like soy chicken or something and then they try like their actual chicken and they're like, "Huh, yours is actually kind of better" or something. Like I feel like that's like that just makes me very proud and it makes me feel like yeah, that's good, you should trust that. And it's like again, if I'm at like a farm or like once we went to like a retreat center and we saw like these like goats and chickens and stuff and I just like could like kind of like, I know it's kind of cheesy but like look them in the eye and just be like yeah like I'm not trying to eat you or anything, and it just like made me feel kind of proud like that I can like not think of them as food. I can just think of them as like another living thing, another thing that has like a family and like yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like probably my happiest place is just like the family dinner table. I just love, like, I love eating. I love being with my family, and when we're doing those two things together, I find that so powerful. And um, because the veganism is a floor, not a ceiling, it often comes up as just a conversation around, like, what are we doing in the world? Like, what are we putting in our bodies? What are we putting in our hearts? What are we putting in our minds? Like, what are we watching on the iPad? What are we putting in, what are we listening to? And there's just so much noise in the world. And just to have a space where food feels like a sacred space, to whatever extent we embrace kashrut, or to whatever extent we embrace, reducing our animal product intake or removing it entirely, like, to have that just be something that connects us as a family is really powerful. And I would say, like, if someone in the family is not fully vegan, like, as opposed to focusing on the negative, the parts that aren't, think about bonding at the table through the parts that we're eating that are the same. Okay, so we're all eating broccoli in this moment. Like, let's talk about the broccoli. Let's talk about the shared experience of what it's like to eat broccoli. And I think the bracha, if we make a blessing in English and Hebrew before we eat food, it's a real way of kind of connecting us to the divine and to our core humanity. To this, just like the sacred experience of being alive and eating together.
Yeah, you keep talking about like the family and stuff, but it's also just like people like everywhere. Like you took us recently to a vegan conference, my family and I, and just like walking around looking at like the different like booths and stuff, like like looking at everybody's like different perspective on veganism and like what they're trying to do to help, and like that like really made me feel like a proud vegan. Like I'm surrounded by all these amazing people who are also vegan, and like having a few conversations with those people, it just made me feel like I'm not alone in this. There are other people who are also trying to help, and like I felt really connected and proud to be like vegan and like yeah.
So, I saw Vivian raise her hand. Vivian, do you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you. First of all, Amelia, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for your insights as a young person. I'm just wondering, isn't it already old news for your friends that you're vegan? You've been vegan your whole life. Do these things keep coming up? Or was this just when you meet somebody new? Because they must know who you are and what your values are and why you don't eat meat, dairy, and eggs. And so I'm just curious about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, so like some old friends who already know, like, yeah, they still keep coming back to it or something. Maybe they're interested, maybe they're trying to like shame me or something. And then another thing is like, yeah, I consider it like a huge value. Like anytime I meet somebody and I could see that like we're actually gonna be talking, it's like one of the first things I say to them is like, yeah, a big part of me is that I'm vegan. My entire family is vegan. I've been vegan my entire life and I'm like really proud of it. And that's like a huge thing for me. Like the first, like the one of the ways I introduce myself is like, hi, I'm Amiella Yanklowitz and I'm Jewish and I'm vegan. And it's like
Mhm.
one of the main things about me. So
Yeah, I think we're at like a breakthrough moment in like global consciousness and around there's so much evil in the world. We know it. We read the news. We all know the challenges. I don't have to go through the dozens and dozens of issues. But we also know that we're winning. Like there's so many good people around the world, billions of people who are doing kind acts and marching for good. And there's so many levels of advancing our spiritual consciousness to the next level of empathy and concern and kindness. And we just got to figure out more ways to lift each other up. And it's the kids, it's the teens, it's the adults, it's the seniors. All of us are in spaces where we can model our own reflection for growth and awareness and blind spots and learning and doing our work and inspiring each other. And I think, and it makes us uncomfortable when someone's doing something we're not sometimes. Like I'm not a great environmentalist, and when I see someone living like a great environmentalist, I get a little uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that yet. And so too, like veganism can make people uncomfortable, and that's okay. Like part of the growth, transition is us all being a little bit uncomfortable, and that's what makes social life so hard is that we're never on the same page with anyone in our family or in our community or in society. Like we're so different as individuals. But we need to strengthen bonds of trust and strengthen community in society. And one of the ways to do that is not to be pluralistic in a way where we're relativists, like nothing matters. We don't stand for anything, but like to really take stands, but create space for each other. Um, so I don't know. Who else has a question or thought?
Sorry, is that all right?
Great.
So I love the title of this webinar, and that's why I'm here. I do a lot of activism, as I wrote down, in the Pico Robertson area of LA. And on my walk every day, I just try to engage as many people as I can. I happen to meet somebody who lives somewhere not in our city, and he realizes he should be vegan. He's a Chabad rabbi. And we've talked over, I got his phone number. I highly suggest if you're an activist, get anybody's phone number because it doesn't take just one conversation. It takes multiple conversations
Mm,
over so much time sometimes. And so he actually started to make the move himself. But he said he had 5 children, but I didn't ask the ages. He's a pretty young guy, so I assume they're pretty young. He says, I'm just having a difficult time trying to give them food that they're gonna like. I mean, that seems to be the thing holding him back, right? So what you said, Rabbi Shmuly, about, come together on the broccoli, I think that's brilliant because that is something that he can start talking about at the dinner table. You like this and I like this. Maybe you'll like this new thing. I like it as well. I don't know. I don't have a family. I wasn't vegan when, I mean, I don't have children. I wasn't vegan when I was uh, growing up. But yeah, I think the dinner table is the hardest for a couple of people I've spoken to. How do you how do you introduce foods to your children that they will love? You were very lucky, Amiella, right? That you just went right into it. You didn't really have to compare it to anything. but a lot of people aren't. And sometimes it's just easier for the grown up and much more difficult for the child.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian, for those great insights. And I think the point around how, if as activists, we have to engage people many times, and that's something we can all think about. If we know someone who's interested, planting a seed is not enough. You have to stay in touch and share an article, share a video, share a thought, invite them to the meal. There's ways that we can support each other and strengthen each other. I love that. So I see Jeff has written a question here for me. Um, and You may have already touched on this. What do you think are the main things you've done to raise a daughter who's proud to be vegan? Well,
Mm.
by far, the one who's done more than me is Shoshana Yanklowitz, because the best thing you can do to have someone love being a vegan is make them great food. And Shoshana is just a wonderful, creative, passionate cook of great, healthy stuff. Um, and so her character and her regular commitment to doing that is really the key to success for why our kids love it. Um, I think because the cards are stacked against, like at the kids' school, like they're the only kids who are vegan in the entire school. Every birthday party, every lunch, every time they're together, like it's like you're asking Vivian, like why does it keep coming up, even though they've known each other for so many years? It comes up all the time wherever they're eating, and kids can be hostile towards it. They can mock it. They can just be ignorant of it, whatever it is, and it's if anyone's ever felt different for any reason, as we all have, you know what it's like. It can be really hard, and yet they're all still like proud and concerned um and nuanced about it. So I think quality of food is certainly number one. Number two is not hitting them over the heads with it, but just gently having it be just a constant part of the conversation, what we're doing and why we're doing it. I think thirdly is fitting it into a broader theology and philosophy of our life purpose, right? It's not just our diet, right? What does it mean to be a Jew? What does it mean to be a human? What are we here to do in the world? And how does it all fit in? It's become so integral to their identities, I think. And Amiella, I want to hear from you on this. It's so integral to their identities, and just who they are in the world. And I wish I had that as a kid, because I really lived with a total darkness, like no awareness at all about these issues as a young child. And to see my kids be my teachers, really. I mean, Amiela is my teacher, and in really understanding this more and more deeply and what it really means, and the spiritual revolution that's happening in the world right now for people to kind of wake up to kind of suffering in the world. So Amiela, do you want to weigh in on that at all, or?
Yeah, sure, thank you. I think, yeah, my mom has made some pretty amazing dishes, yeah. And then also, my parents have like really made all the vegan food very accessible to me. Like they told me when they first like became vegan after they were married, they said like, oh, they were kind of worried about it, like having kids because they were worried that we were like not gonna have very much like good food to eat. And then people kept making more and more amazing vegan food. And then it's like if I would go to a party and it was like a birthday party and they were gonna have non-vegan cake or something, my mom would always make sure that I would like bring vegan cupcakes. Or like even if we're like just going to the movie theater, my dad would always make sure like, yeah, you can stuffle in a few vegan snacks if you want, so that like we always have something. And it's just like anytime it's like if we're like going to somebody's house for a meal or something, like they're always like making sure that there's something for us. So yeah, it's just they've done an amazing job making sure that we always have vegan food and that we always love the vegan food and that there are so many vegan places that we get to go to. So yeah.
There,
Am I? Oh,
there's another great person on the Zoom here, and I don't want to embarrass her. I'll just say her name rhymes with Peggy, and she has a great son who went, vegan or close to vegan, and is constantly accommodating with amazing things for him, and has made it easier for him. And so maybe she wants to reflect on that, or her son. I see they're both actually here, not to embarrass anyone. So I see I see Max's question in the chat. What do you say to Jews who say that the rules of kashrut are sufficiently compassionate to animals? Do you ever hear that from observant Jews? Yes, I hear that all the time. And that's a really important question. And just before I get to that, I'll say something else, which is our diets change all the time. Like I'm always trying different diets. I get flexible, sometimes strict, sometimes. Diets are so easy. They're not core to our identities more than Jews have kept kosher. Kosher has kept Jews. And so kashrut is very powerful. This is a pluralistic session. So to whatever degree you embrace kashrut, I would encourage us to put these ethics into the framework of kashrut, right? Of what it means in our own ways to keep kosher. Because for sure, for me, veganism is the ideal manifestation of what kashrut is. So I'm not just doing a diet. I'm doing something, a sacred practice that has been a part of for the Jews for millennia. And even if Jews for millennia weren't vegan, by being vegan, I am following that sacred path. Now, to your specific point, um, yes, I hear that from observant Jews all the time. I think that some of them might be acting deceptively, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they just really have no clue what's happening. If they're just talking about shechita, right, the moment where an animal's killed, okay, you can maybe make a case that there's something slightly more ethical about slicing the esophagus and trachea on the same slice. That the animal's going to die quicker and draining the blood and the conscious. Um, Other people are making a different argument. They're saying that stunning is required. Stunning is more humane, whether it's post-stunning or pre-stunning. So actually, it's not the most ethical slaughter. But bracketing that question itself, um, the entirety of the life in factory farming, from birth until the moment of slaughter, is identical. Kosher milk is just regular milk in America. Eggs are regular eggs in America. The meat, these animals are coming from factory farms. So the idea that kashrut is in any way more ethical towards animals is so deceptively incorrect. Um, and so, what do I say? Um, you know, our campaign right now is not called Jews for Veganism. It's called Jews Against Factory Farming because the hope is that people can just say, all right, right. Like if I look at factory farming, I'm willing to say that's really horrific. That's really bad. Um, and then once we later say, look, but do you know that 99.9% of the food you're getting animal products is coming from factory farming? Then you have to kind of live with that dissonance a little bit. Um, and yeah, Emma says this is definitely the most common pushback she gets. And so I think that kashrut is beautiful and powerful. The way kashrut is manifest in America in 2026 is cruel and not compassionate. So I'm a defender of kashrut. I'm a critic of the way the kosher industry currently operates today. And so um, and I think that we can maintain that what the kashrut ideal ultimately is, because I really do believe the fact that the Garden of Eden was vegan, and the fact that oh yeah, thanks Ebba, you can sign on to the Jews Against Factory Farming campaign. If you don't have that link or you haven't signed on yet, please do and send it. Again, you don't have to be vegan, you don't have to be vegetarian. As long as you think something's going wrong in factory farming, you can sign on to that and you can share it with others to kind of build that awareness. So thank you for that great question, Max. I know we only have about 7 minutes left. Who else has a question or thought? Um, and I know Emma's looking at the live stream as well. Oh yes, Lisa, I see you came on screen. Do you want to share something? No pressure. No pressure if you don't. Anyone
I
else?
didn't have anything at this
Oh,
time.
okay. No problem. Yep. If you decide to, that's great. Anyone else here? Or Amiella, if something's coming up for you? Yeah. Hi, Vivian. Go ahead. Feel free to unmute yourself, Vivian.
Thanks for bringing up everything you just brought up about the factory farming and all that happens is they go off on different trucks to different slaughter. The pushback I get often is, sorry, we Jews don't do that. And plus the farm I get my animals from and my food from is different. And I say, oh, that's great. Tell me which farm you get your food
Mm,
from, and I will call that farm and find out if they do X, Y, and Z. Because I'm sure they're doing all the X, Y's, and Z's that the factory farms are doing. And I have yet to find a farm because nobody knows where they're getting their stuff from. I just don't know. And again, it's all about education. But yeah, that was I remember the first person who said, do your homework, Vivian, and then get back to me. But we Jews don't do that. And I did my homework, and then I never heard, I tried to reach him and I never got an answer back. So anyway, it's a hard sell.
Thank you. Yes, I know many of us were raised with a sense of Jewish exceptionalism, and a sense that everything that Jews might do in the public sphere is the ideal. And I think being self-critical might be what can make us exceptional. Challenging ourselves, holding ourselves accountable.
Mhm.
Yeah, who else wants to jump in here? Okay, Amiella, I don't know if you can answer this. What's your favorite vegan cheese brand?
I'd say Daya. Yeah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but like DAY.
Yeah,
I
yeah, thank you. Some people say
Daya.
Daya, some people say Daya.
Daya,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
It's good
when
stuff.
Shoshana and I went, what was that, Max?
It's good stuff. Yep.
When Shoshana and I went vegan on our wedding day 15 years ago, we were so scared. I remember we binged on some sour cream and cheese, and we're like, we're gonna have bad food the rest of our lives, and we're so sad and we're so scared. And then things got so much better, and it continues to get so much better. Like these
Yeah.
Beyond steaks and the vegan egg and the like. But yeah, there are some things that people who are just massive cheese fans. Like it's gonna be hard to get to that level, even though it's catching up. I've had some amazing cashew cheeses and the like, and but if anyone else wants to post about vegan cheeses, please put that in the chat. All right, Debbie's got a comment here. Since you mentioned our son Isaac, myself having not been even vegetarian all these years, I've learned so much from him and have become very conscious of what we all eat. And yes, I've become quite the vegan cook, if only because I know what he's eating when he's not here. Literally eating a block of plain tofu. We know Isaac, and we have fed Isaac, he will only eat our leftovers that are close to going bad, or already gone bad, because he wants to make sure they don't go bad. Um, so I try to accommodate him. I'm proud of how he eats. We should all be following suit. I think he told me he has a tech challenge, so he might still be listening, but I hope not to be embarrassing. He's just a remarkably ethical person, which he gets from his parents and from his own moral strivings. And yeah, and it's remarkable how you've accommodated, because it's rare. I mean, some families just won't do that, and the kid often drifts from the home. Debbie, you want to weigh in there? I see you unmuted.
Well, I'm looking at your wife's face, who I think has fed him as much as I have. And she appreciates who he is. He's a character. But yes, we have learned a lot from him. And the truth is, I have eaten like that most of my adult life anyway. Um, Starting off really just because I don't like meat, having nothing to do with its ethics. But over time, I have learned mostly from him. If I have to watch one more movie, but yeah,
Nice.
he has made us watch all of them. We've seen them all, and my other children are not impressed, but his father
Yeah.
and I are. So thank
Yeah.
you, Isaac, who I don't even think is on anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. He might be.
I'm
Oh,
here.
there
I'm
he
here.
is.
You're here.
Oh,
Hello,
good. So we could
Isaac.
talk about him even more. Yeah, we
Exactly.
could talk. Yeah.
No, I don't think we should talk about him, but
Okay. Yeah. I know he
I
doesn't want
thank
us to.
you, Shmuley and Shoshana, for your unbelievable influence over him.
His
Really.
influence on us is even greater than anything we've had.
And
So,
Amiella.
and Aviela, yes,
No joke.
I love that.
Thank you.
And what I would say, like, I think that it's a really good example what Debbie is warmly embracing from her son, making her watch documentaries. Like, like there's some families, okay, we shouldn't talk about X, Y, and Z. It's too much tension. But there's some families like it's okay to be a little uncomfortable and like raise some questions and have us think about some things, even if we end up making different choices. Like it's if we love people, we want them to think about the important things. But I will say, if we land in different places, a parent than a child than a parent, spouses, right? The only answer is not to push the person further, but to pull them closer and just love each other more and take care of each other more. We live in already a very polarizing age. The last thing we need is weakening our family bonds or our friendship bonds. Like, life is complex and we all make different choices and we can just love each other more. even with these differences. So, Amiella, do you want to make just a last comment? I know we're going to end in about a minute or two. Any just kind of last reflection you have on this process or things you're thinking about?
No, yeah, thank you. It's just like a lot of most of my friends aren't vegetarian, but like the couple who are like makes me feel great, right? And then like I don't know too many vegan people, so just like being on the Zoom call with you all is like really felt great for me, and like being able to share my ideas, my points and stuff on veganism and hearing all of yours has also been great. And so thank you all so much.
Thank you, Amiella, and you're awesome. I'm so proud of you and the great leadership that you show in the world and how you use your voice so sensitively and brilliantly. And I thank you all for joining us. And I just give us the bracha, and I hope you bless us back. Um, that every moment is a moment to choose if we're going to build someone up or tear them down, if we're going to live on a life, our lives on the on the side of light or a side of darkness, a side of ignorance or a side of truth. And it's really hard. It's challenging, but we can continue to strengthen each other because the moral urgency of this moment is very high, and we can feel very powerless in the world around what we can do when the forces are so strong. But let's reclaim that power because there really are meaningful things we can do in advocacy, in education, in community building, and of course with our consumption as well, the things we buy. And let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. There's so many levels of to grow environmentally and in health and in food ethics. But let's just take the next right step, take the next right step, and do what we can, and follow Amiella's lead to continue to commit and go to the next level. Thank you all. Bless you all. And in these 9 days of thinking about historical trauma, let's repair historical trauma with a future that is more compassionate.